The Paul Leslie Interviews.
Now, today's guest, Peter Stormare, has been in a lot of television shows and movies. Today, he's here to talk about his band. So we're going to play an ultra cool interview we did with Peter Stormare. Here is the one and only, the actor, the nihilist, Peter Stormare.
Welcome, Peter Stormare, to the program. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing excellent, good, but I hate the weather out here in Chicago. But internally, I'm super.
Good. So, most people know you as an actor, but how did you get interested in music?
Music has always been there at my side as a young kid, and started with Hendrix, I guess, Beatles' White Album, Jimi Hendrix, Electric Leyland, and later Led Zeppelin and all that, and just stayed with me when I entered into theater. I directed a lot of theater in my younger days. I always had great music on stage, like Brian Eno or rock music. I always wanted to combine modern music with old drama. And I also directed opera, and I love opera. I love all different kinds of music, but it's always been there, and I just waited for the right time to have the right band around me, and I'm old enough to do this now. It's a hobby that's taken its own life. It's just snowballed, and we have an album coming out in January. It's going to be on iTunes in late December, and it's just a fantastic thing. It's a phenomenal thing that I started like 2 years ago, and it's just taken off. And because of the internet and the web, all over the world, I have people calling in and ordering stuff. You know, it's fantastic.
And I understand that U2's Bono had something to do with inspiring you or encouraging you.
Well, I was doing a movie called $1 Million Hotel, and I was supposed to strum the guitar and sing some snippets of songs here and there. And they were supposed to be like a Beatles influence, because it was all about a guy who thought it was a reincarnation of John Lennon, or that he actually was John Lennon. And I got the twang down, and I got the job. And while I was doing the job, Bono said that he had some suggestions of songs that I was supposed to play, and I listened to the songs, and then I went home and composed some other songs, and I said, listen to these songs, or this song. And he said, wow, that's really good. Where did you find it? I said, no, I did it. And then I played him some 4 tracks, and he said, Peter, this is darn good. This is really good songs. So get the band together as soon as you can and start recording the material. And that's what I did. And it took a while to find the right musicians, but now I have great people behind me. And whenever I'm not shooting a movie or doing Prison Break, I'm back in Los Angeles recording. So he was a great inspiration, and he kicked my ass, so to speak. And usually I only played with myself on a 4-track or a garage band out in my little home studio. But he really encouraged me to put it down, you know, make CDs and get out there and perform with the band. And that's what I'm doing now when I have the time, and it's awesome.
And your band is called Blonde from Fargo, from obviously the film Fargo.
Yeah, well, when any band that starts, it doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or 60 years old. It's always hard you always sit down and try to come up with a great name for a band. And we didn't have a really good name, and we just performed, and we took a new name every night, more or less. But I was always introduced, or the band were introduced like Dino and his Dinettes, or whatever we call this, or Sneaky Pete and his, Honky Pete, or whatever name we came up with. But before we went on, they always introduced us like, well, here's Sneaky Pete and his Tricky Teeth, or whatever, Trick or Treat. But the guy who runs the band, who writes all the material and lead singing, he's more known as the blonde from Fargo. And they kept doing that a couple of times. And people started screaming, and it was actually my phenomenal drummer, Matt Logg, who came up with the band name instead after a couple of gigs. That's a darn good name when they announce us blonde from Fargo. Sounds like a big, voluptuous lady coming in with an accordion doing some polka punk. And that's how the name came in. I hated it at first. I didn't want to ride on being in a movie. But it was a good name. Everybody loved the name. So hopefully, people seem to like it. BFF, best friends forever.
My other question was about the song Spun. Is that a biographical or an autobiographical song, or?
It was actually a request from a director who did a movie called Spun. And I was in the movie, and it's 3 years ago, and he wanted 2 songs from me. And I wrote Spun and a song called Circles. And Spun was actually inspired by all the kids I met, because it's a real story about kids doing the methamphetamine themselves. They're like between 20 and 25 years old, and they are chemists. They are so darn smart, but some of them are so messed up in their heads, but they know everything about what you get in Rite Aid or Save-Ons or Walgreens. They go in, they know exactly how many packages of this drug and this, and then they boil it for 48 hours, or for 78 hours, no more than 143 degrees Fahrenheit, otherwise it will explode. And it was during that time of meeting these people that some of them I felt like they felt they had no place in the society, so they said, what the heck, I'm just doing this. I'm creating my own methamphetamine. I sell it. I make a lot of money, and I take it myself. And it was hard to see young people being so convinced that they were unwanted in our society. So that's how the lyrics came down. And like you're born with a feeling of being a chosen one, that is not needed in this society, is always kicked out. And there's only one way to go, and that is to go into darkness, which I think you shouldn't, because we're all here for a specific reason. But so many of them had that darkness around them, so it's sad to see. And that whole homemade drug industry that's going on, whenever you hear about a fire in a motel or in a trailer park, it's a lab that's going up in flames. And they create a lot of unclean drugs for kids, so it's not like when I was young, you drank a bad bottle of wine and you promised God and everybody around you, you will never, ever, ever do this again, because I don't want to feel this horrible. But today, when they take a drug, if it's unclean, it's one of our fastest growing diseases, is to take care of young kids between 15 and 25 who has take some brain damages because of unclean drugs. They buy, for $5, and they just eat everything. So it's quite, that's why I want to do an upbeat song that you can dance to, but I always wanted to write some really heavy lyrics to it, some real reality mixed into songs. And halfway through dancing through the song, you start listening to the lyrics and say, what the hell is this about, really? So it's not I experienced not myself, but I sat with people who had experienced this, and it just came out in a couple of hours, maybe, lyrics and everything.
And recently you played with Jeff Bridges at the Lebowski Fest.
Yeah. It was great fun, playing in front of those crazy people. And Jeff is fantastic. I mean, he also do music sort of my way. He does what he wants to do, and he creates it. You know, he takes a little bit of his own money, and he works together with people that really likes him and likes his music. The same with me, and yeah, we have stayed friends since the Big Lebowski, and this was a good time to join forces and be at the Lebowski Fest and play, and it was a big hit. Jeff's music is a little bit different than mine. Jeff, my music is entirely original. I can't do covers because covers are so hard. And usually the songs I love the best are done by the best. So to do a Nirvana or a Clash cover is horrible because when you listen to yourself, it sounds shitty compared to the original. So I'm not very good at it. I've always written my own songs. They've been performed by other bands and recorded in Sweden by other bands, but I can't do anything else but my own originals. And I love to write in English, and I love to play, you know, in my second language, American. But I'm American now. I'm a citizen, so it's becoming more and more my first language, and I love to write in this beautiful language and to put down the words and just find some great lyrics for some cool, simple chords.
A lot of people know you as John Abruzzi from the Fox show Prison Break.
Yeah.
But recently, I guess, you've had a conversion to Christianity and got a kind of close shave. Will we be seeing you again on Prison Break?
Oh, I'm not really sure there. I'm not really sure because I have a lot of movies lined up, and I don't know if I have time to continue doing Prison Break because it's such a a hard business. But I don't know what the network decides whether I'm alive or not. It's a mystery as it is now.
Yeah, I kind of noticed it was like I wasn't sure.
No one is really sure. It's kind of a mystery to us all. We'll see. They will solve it in a week's time or 2 weeks' time. We'll see. It might be the biggest cliffhanger of the season, or it might just be my grand finale. Depends how Fox wants to shoot it and when they want to shoot it, and because they're going to close down the show for nearly half a year to broadcast, and they haven't really decided whether they're going to continue shooting now because the snow is going to come down, and it's supposed to look like March, April in the show. So it's very hard to have 2 feet of snow on the ground all of a sudden. So the show is now being discussed on top level if we should close down for a while or if we should continue shooting. So it might be the biggest cliffhanger, or it might just be gone. So I'm not really sure myself, but I have so many other beautiful offers to do movies. So you just move on from one project to the other if you're a lucky fellow like I am. But his conversion to redemption and maybe that he had a revelation, that's an old idea from the beginning. That's always been in the originator's brain. Paul Scheringer, the guy who made it, has the plot for 3 years in his head. My character is built on a guy called John Abruzzi, and he was a gambler and a murderer and a soldier in the 16th and 17th century. And then he saw an apparition of Jesus Christ, and he became like born again and started something called the Red Cross. And sometimes he fell back into gambling and killing and fighting and being in war. But then he came back to it, and he got together. I mean, the hardest is like they worked like a mafia. They walked around Rome in big black robes, and they had a white shirt under it with a red cross, and they knocked on doors, on rich people's doors, and said, "We need money because we need to set up soup kitchens, we need shelters for our poor." And those people were so intimidated because I gave the money away. So that's how it started. Later on, this guy Abruzzi, Gregorio Abruzzi, he went to the battlefields and said, "We're wearing this red cross, which means we're untouchable, the untouchables. We can walk into the fields and we will take care of the wounded." And both sides agreed on it, and they were sort of untouched. And so it's built on that character, and from the beginning, before we even started shooting, that was part of the plan, that I have this transformation, and that I forgive the most vicious son of a gun in the prison, and he shanks me, and we'll see if it's a cliffhanger or not. You have to wait until May, I guess.
Do you think growing up in Sweden has makes you come from a different perspective than most songwriters and most actors?
Yeah, and also because I think also, yeah, that is one of the reasons. And the second reason is that I'm not a good musician. I'm sort of kind of mediocre, but I play some piano, I play some bass, and I play good enough to come up with simple chords and simple bass riffs and simple piano licks, because I can't play more complicated. And whenever my band members hear my, what should I say, my template, the thing I usually put down myself, bass, a drum loop, and I put down my own bass and two guitars, and I do my harmonies myself. And usually when they hear the original, what I have done, they say, "That's a darn good bass riff." Because I think the musicians I'm working with, and a lot of musicians are so good, like the guitars on You Don't Want Me, that's me, live sort of to the track. There's nothing we did afterwards. It's me playing while we lay down the track. And we kept it all through because no one else can play it. And now my two guitar players I have with me on stage, they have to ask me all the time, "How the hell do you play this?" And it's so simple, so none of those guitarists who can play whatever you tell them to play. But they haven't really figured out how to do the solo and You Don't Want Me, which is kind of funny. And so I build my songs on very, very simple chords, and I think that's why people tend to like it a lot, because it's simple. It's like you heard the song before. It's not so complicated, and it usually has a groove to it, so it goes straight into you can start moving along. And I think that it's two components that I'm not from this country. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid what people are saying. I don't care. I do it my way anyway. I can't do it any other way. And secondly, that I am just a mediocre musician. So I do a lot of strange chords, and then my guitarist says, "Peter, you're playing a G major 9 here. That's an odd chord, but it sounds cool." "Oh, I don't know. I just strum it this way." So I don't know really what chords I'm playing. So I think that's an advantage sometimes.
So is any of your music going to appear in any movies coming out?
I hope so. I've written for, I had a couple of independents, like the movie Spun, and another independent movie Nut. They're all out on DVDs now, and I've written for a movie coming out called The Templar. I wrote the end credits for it, and there's another movie too that I wrote the end credits for. And then me and a partner of mine are doing music for 2 independent movies, so it's moving.
We got a couple of emails from people, and I thought this was kind of a funny question that they wanted me to ask you.
Yeah.
About Prison Break.
Yeah.
Dr. Sarah or Veronica?
Yeah. Dr. Sarah or Veronica?
Yeah.
Sarah is more my type. Sarah is more my type.
Good, good.
You know, and she's so caring. She takes care of you. Imagine going to bed. She looks after you. She's a nurse or doctor. She will do exams every night, and you will never have to go to the doctor. She takes care of you all the time. And she's very, very pretty, and, you know, you can't have a better life than to be married to a doctor, and a doctor that is good looking. And Robin is nice and good looking too, but you know, she's not a doctor.
Yeah, medical bills can get expensive.
And I don't need a lawyer in my life. I've paid too many lawyers already. I don't need them in my life, in my private life. 9 and 5 is okay.
Well, I have one more question.
Yeah, absolutely. Shoot.
All right, this program goes out all over the world.
Yeah.
And so what I want to ask you, Peter Stormare, what would you like to say to the world? All your fans in Sweden, all your fans in America, everyone who's listening.
Well, that's a tricky one because I grew up with a mother that taught me French. She's with me up here now celebrating Thanksgiving. But it's kind of hard, but she always said, you got to think positive. You got to stay positive, because if you don't, the negative side is winning. And we have a duty, I think, every morning to raise up from our beds and say, you know, thank you. And we don't have to thank God, but thank you, life, that I'm breathing. And try to stay positive, because positive vibrations are spreading all over the world and will make this world a better one. But people tend to fall into the trap of negativity so easily and start worrying about payment of a car or a mortgage or whatever. So we tend to forget how amazing it is to be alive and to be part of this world. So my message is every morning, thank life that you're alive and breathing, and send out some positive energy that will save a lot of people in other parts of the world. It's as impossible, you know, to give just $10 to charity somewhere and then go back and to become a whining and bitching personality. It's not a good thing. You can make more miracles in this world by being open and positive and sharing your laughters and smile with other people. It became long now, but it's like John Lennon writing the song Imagine. You might look at the song like it's very childish and maybe very sort of a little pathetic. Why sing about this, you know? Let's join hands all over the world. But he believed in it, and that's why he was such a special personality. He believed in every darn word he said, and he said, you know, just a little tiny bit you can do by yourself will spread. So in his honor, just to go on and make this world a little better one. That's the only thing we can do as human beings.
Very good.
Thank you. It became long.
We'll have to play Imagine on the show.
Yeah, beautiful song. It's a beautiful song. It's so simple that it's like unbelievable. And he was not a real good piano player, but I read about Nicky Hopkins that played with him on the album. John Lennon played, you know, for him, and then I said Nicky Hopkins should play it, and Nicky played it. And he said, I couldn't play the shit, you know, it didn't sound the same.
Huh.
So I said, John, you have to play it. Okay, but it's just like this. It's very simple, Nicky. I know, he said, but I can't play it like you. Get the timing out. So he played it himself, John Lennon. Also because he wasn't the best piano player. He knew some basics, but he knew enough just to do that little piece, you know, and it's very, very simple. It's something a good pianist never would have come up with.